أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري يسر لي أمري واحلل لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين رب العالمين. Again 5 Surah Maida 104. Yes, you can read this one. Yes, go ahead, Asma.
Yeah, okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا قيل لهم تعالوا إلى ما أنزل الله وإلى رسوله قالوا حسبنا كما وجدنا عليهم آباءنا
عليه.
أولو كان آباؤهم لا يعلمون شيئا لا يهتدون.
Yes, mashallah, very good. Mashallah, tabarakallah. Okay, what and is a when? Qila, it said, la, to whom them, ta'alo. Ta'alo means come. Ila, to ma, what anzala has been revealed by Allah. Allah. Wa ila, Allah, by Allah. Wa and ila, to ar-Rasul. Al is the Rasul messenger. Qalu, they said. Hasbuna, hasbuna, sufficient for us. Ma, what? Wajadna, wajadna, what is, and jadna is we, and wajad is found. This is one word. Wajada is found. Wajadna, we found. Alayhi, alay is upon, he is it. Aba'ana. Abba are forefathers, ancestors, right? Na, our. Aba'ana are forefathers. Awalo, even though, kana, that, Aba'uhum, Abba are forefathers, and whom is there, la, not. Ya'lamuna, knowing, shay'an, anything. Wa, and la, not. Yahtadun, and they were guided. Yes, Haika, you can read the translation.
And when it is said to them, come to Allah has revealed to the messenger, they say, sufficient for us is that upon which we found our fathers, even though their fathers knew nothing, nor were they guided.
Yes, again the same issue that when it's told to them to come to Allah and come to what Allah has revealed in the messenger, right? The Quran has been revealed, and they say, "Oh, sufficient. We are sufficient. We don't need because we are following what our ancestor forefathers have been doing, even though their fathers knew nothing, and nor they were guided." Okay, same concept that again, Tafsir of Ibn Kathir, same thing. Let's see what they have. Oh, the mourning of Bahira, Saiba, Wasil, and Ham. The meaning. The milk was spared for the idols only. That was really okay. So let's make some questions from this. Hundred and four. What were the innovations and what was the response? What was the response of disbelievers for their innovations? Innovations are what they invent, right? Innovations in this ayah. What was the response? So when you would say when they were asked to believe in Allah and His Messenger, to follow Allah and Messenger, they would say that they found their forefathers doing that. So that's the only reason they would give. No logic reason, just that they found their ancestors doing it. So that's why they're going to follow the same thing. The she camel's milk will only be for their idols and not for human beings, and that's how they think they're worshipping. So if their ancestor did something like this, which it doesn't have any, you know, um, any reason to do, any benefit, they will still keep doing it because it's a custom, right? So this is the ayah, chapter 504. Yeah, this is the answer. Can you write the answer? Haika Asma Abdullah, write the answer. When they were asked to follow Allah and His Messenger, they would say that they would follow what their ancestors used to do, even though their ancestors were and their fathers were misguided. They didn't know what they were doing. Let me know when you're done.
I heard half of what you said, the rest cut off.
I said that when they were asked to follow Allah and His Messenger, okay, they would say that they would do what their fathers were doing, even though their fathers knew nothing and they were misguided. Asma, Haika Abdullah, when you're done, let me know. You're done? Yes, very good, Asma. Very good. Yes, you didn't put a comma there, which you made it.
Yeah, that's why I put a different
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, that's good. That's supposed to be a comma. They would say that they would do what their ancestors did, even when their ancestors were in the wrong. Yeah. And you put a period after wrong as well to make sure we are doing it correctly and properly. You can delete the previous one and put a period in the after wrong. Okay, so you understood the question. Asma, you can put a period after wrong and delete the previous one. Haika and Abdullah, let me know when you're done.
Refresh the page. I've already deleted the other two.
Did you get to do the period? Yeah, okay. So, Osman Haika, sorry.
Done.
Done? Okay. Okay, very good. Very good. Only Abdullah is left. Abdullah, you did not comment in the previous one as well? And your work in Excel is also very low. So I don't know why. If you have any questions, you can ask so we can get those questions, those answered for you. Haika and Asma, you can share your screen for Excel so don't waste time, inshallah. And I'll just wait for Abdullah to finish his work. Abdullah, you can use these answers to write your own. Abdullah, are you done?
Yes.
Yes, I see it. Share your screen for Excel, Abdul and Haika as well. Okay. Haika and Abdullah, you're not sharing your screen. Please share your screen for Excel.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Where is Haika and Abdullah?
I don't know, they are not in the class.
Okay, let me give me 1 second. Let me ask.
Aika Abdullah, are you here? Are you here, Haika and Abdullah?
Yes.
Okay. Haika, can you read it? Student learning objective. At the end of this session, section,
Major
the
causes.
student will be able to. Yes. Haika, can you read it?
Identify major causes and describe the major effects of the following important turning points in world history from 600 to 1450: the spread of Christianity, the decline of Rome, and the formation of medieval Europe, the development of Islamic Caliphate, and their impact on Asia, Africa, and Europe, the Mongol invasions, and their impact on Europe, China, India, and Southwest Asia. To summarize, the changes resulting from Mongol invasions of Russia, China, and the Islamic world. Explain Ming China's impact on global trade. Create and interpret thematic maps, graphs, and charts to demonstrate the relationship between geography and historical development of a region or nation. Analyze and compare geographic distribution and patterns in world history shown on maps, graphs, charts, and models. Use maps, charts, and graphs to explain how geography has influenced people and events in the past.
Okay. You can continue, Haika.
identify the origin fusion of a major ideas in mathematics, science, and technology that occurred in River Valley civilization, classical Greece and Rome, classical India, and Islamic caliphates between 700 and 1200, and in China from the Tang to Ming dynasties.
Okay, can you continue?
As Europe lived through its high Middle Ages and Mongol
Okay,
Europe,
can you stop, Naika? Asma, can you read? Read.
As Europe okay, rise of the Mongol Empire. As Europe lived through its high Middle Ages, the Mongol Empire, the largest contiguous land empire in history, began to emerge and would exist throughout the 13th and 14th centuries. Beginning in the Central Asian steppes and at its greatest extent, it included all of modern-day Mongolia, China, parts of Burma, Romania, Pakistan, Siberia, Ukraine, Belarus, Cilicia, Anatolia, Georgia, Armenia, Persia, Iraq, Central Asia, and much or all of Russia. Many additional countries became tributary states of the Mongol Empire. The empire unified the nomadic Mongol and the Turkish tribes of historical Mongolia under the leadership of Genghis Khan, who was proclaimed ruler of all Mongols in 1206. In 1206. The empire grew rapidly under his rule and then his under his descendants who sent invasions in every direction. The vast transcontinental empire connected to the east with the west with an enforced Pax Mongolica or Mongol peace, allowing trade, technologies, commodities, and ideologies to be disseminated and exchanged across Eurasia. Mongol invasion and conquest progressed over the next century until 1300, by which time the vast empire covered much of Asia and Eastern Europe. The historians regard the Mongol raids and invasions as some of the deadliest and most terrifying conflicts in human history. They spread a panic ahead of them and induced a population displacement on an unprecedented scale. Before Genghis Khan became the leader of Mongolia, he was known as Temujin. When his young wife, Bort, was kidnapped by a rival tribe, but the Temujin united the nomadic, previously ever rivaling Mongol tribes under his rule through political manipulation and military might. He defeated the tribe that had captured Bort and rescued her. As Temujin gained power, he forbade looting of his enemies without permission, and he implemented a policy of sharing spoils with his warriors and their families instead of giving it all to the aristocrats. Because of this, he was a popular leader. However, these policies brought him into conflict with his uncles, who were also legitimate heirs to Mongol succession, as well as his generals. War ensued and Temujin prevailed, destroying all the remaining rival tribes from 1203 to 1205 and bringing them under his sway in 1206. In 1206, Temujin was crowned as the leader of the great Mongol nation. It was then that he assumed the title of Genghis Khan, meaning universal leader, making the start of the Mongol Empire. Innovations under Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan invented many ways of organizing his army, dividing it into decimal subsections of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. He also founded the Imperial Guard. He rewarded loyalty with high positions as heads of army units and households, even though many had originally been from very low rank clans. He proclaimed a new law of the empire and codified everything related to the everyday life and political affairs of the people. He outlawed the theft of others' properties, fighting among themselves, and hunting animals during the breeding season. He also made changes regarding women in Mongol society. He forbade the selling of women and continued to encourage the age-old tradition of allowing women to discuss major public decisions. For example, unlike other Mongols and leaders in the region, Genghis allowed his wives to sit at the table with him and encouraged them to voice their opinions. Apparently, they helped him decide the next Khan. He also allowed widows to choose to remarry, which was previously uncommon, to help keep them from poverty and other social ills. Mm, he appointed his adopted brother as supreme judge, ordering him to keep records of the empire. He decreed religious freedom and supported domestic and international trade. He exempted the poor and the clergy from taxation. Because of this, Muslims, Buddhists, and Christians from Manchuria, North China, India, and Persia, in fact, joined Genghis willingly long before his foreign conquests. He also encouraged literacy, adopting the Uyghur script, which would form the empire's Uyghur Mongolian script. The Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan initially forged the initial Mongol Empire in Central Asia with the unification of the Mongol and Turkic confederations on the Mongolian plateau in 1206. The Mongols invaded westward into Central Asia with the conquest of the Western Jia dynasty in 1209, the Jin dynasty in 1234, the Karachitan Khanate in 1218, and the Khwarezmian Empire in 1221. These conquests seriously depopulated large areas of Islamic Central Asia and northeastern Iran. Iran. Since any city or town that resisted the Mongols was subject to destruction, each soldier was required to execute a certain number of persons, with the number varying according to circumstances. For example, after the conquest of the city of Urgench, each Mongol warrior and an army that might have consisted of 20,000 soldiers has required to execute 24 people. By 1260, the armies of the Mongol Empire had swept with an overwhelming force out of Asian steppes, utterly destroyed ancient and powerful kingdoms in the Middle East, and reached as far west as Egypt and Poland before halting their advance. During the same period, Mongol assaults on China replaced the Sung dynasty with the Yuan dynasty. The Mongols' military tactics, based on the swift and ferocious use of mounted cavalry, crushed even the strongest European and Islamic forces that took the field against them. They also learned a primitive cannon and firearm technologies and brought these to the West. Conquest of the Western Jia dynasty. With the political rise of Genghis Khan in 1206 CE, the Mongol Empire shared its western borders with the Western Jia dynasty of the Tanguts. To the east and south was the Jin dynasty of northern China. Genghis Khan first planned for war with the Western Jia, correctly believing that the young, more powerful ruler of the mm, Jin dynasty would not come to the Western Jia dynasty's aid. Despite initial difficulties in capturing the Western Xia's defended cities, Genghis Khan forced their surrender by 1209 a conquest of the Jin dynasty. In 1211 CE, after the conquest of Western Jia, Genghis Khan moved to conquer the Jin dynasty. The Jin's army commander made a tactical mistake in not attacking the Mongols at the first opportunity. Instead, he sent a messenger to Mongols, but the messenger defected and told the Mongols that the Jin dynasty army was waiting for them on the other side of the Badger Pass. This was where the Mongols massacred thousands of Jin troops. In 1215 CE, Genghis captured and sacked the Jin capital of Zhengdu, a modern-day Beijing. This forced the Emperor Zhuang to move his capital south, abandoning the northern half of his kingdom to the Mongols. Between 1232 CE and 1233 CE, Haifeng fell to the Mongols under the reign of Genghis III's son, Ogedei Khan. The last major battle between the Jin and the Mongols was the siege of Kaiju in 1234 CE, which marked the collapse of the Jin dynasty and conquest of the Khitan Khanate. The Mongol Empire conquered the Karakhtan Khanate, an empire of formerly nomadic people in Central Asia in the years 1216 through 1218 CE. The Khanate was under the rule of Prince Kuchlug, who had converted to Buddhism after being after and begun persecuting the Muslim majority among the Khitan. This alienated him from most of his people. The Karachitai attracted Genghis Khan's attention when they besieged Al-Malik, a city belonging to the vassals of the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan dispatched an army who, under the command of General Jib, defeated the Karachitai at their capital. Balasagan and Kuchlug fled. Ajib gained support from the Karachitan populace by announcing that Kuchlug's oppressive policy of religious persecution had ended. When his army followed Kuchlug to Kashgar in 1217, the populace revolted and turned on Kuchlug, forcing him to flee again for his life. Ajib pursued Kuchlug into modern Afghanistan. According to Persian history, Ata Malik Julaini, a group of hunters, caught Kuchlug in 1218 and handed him over onto the Mongols, who promptly beheaded him. With Kuchlug's death, the Mongol Empire secured control over the Karachitai and the surrounding areas. The Mongols now had a firm outpost in Central Asia, directly bordering the Khwarezmian Empire in Greater Iran. The relations with the Khwarezms would quickly break down, leading to the Mongol invasion in that territory in 1219. In the early 13th century, the Khwarezmian Empire was governed by Shah Ala ad-Din Muhammad. Genghis Khan saw the potential advantage in Khwarezmia as a commercial trading partner using the Silk Road, and he sent a caravan to establish official trade ties with the empire. However, a Khwarezmian governor attacked the caravan, claiming that it contained spies. Genghis Khan sent a second group of ambassadors to meet the Shah himself instead of the governor. The Shah had all of the men shaved and the Muslim ambassador beheaded and sent his head back with the two remaining ambassadors. Outraged, Genghis Khan organized one of his largest and most brutal brutal invasion campaigns consisting of 200,000 soldiers in 3 divisions. He left a commander and troops in China that designated his successors to be his family members and set out for Khwarezmia. Before he left, he divided his empire among his sons and immediate family and declared that his heir should be his charismatic third son, Ogedai. His invasion of Khwarezmia would last from 1219 to 1221. His son Joji led the first division into the northeast, and the second division under Mujib marched secretly to the southeast to form. With the first division, a pincer attacked on Samarkand. The third division under Genghis Khan and Khalui moved in from the northwest. The Shah's army, in contrast, was fragmented, a decisive factor in their defeat. The Mongols were not facing a unified defense. This conquest, even by the Mongol standards, was brutal. They attacked the Khwarezm capital, Samarkand, using African prisoners as body shields. The people of Samarkand were ordered to evacuate and assemble outside the city, where they were killed and pyramids of their severed heads raised as a symbol of victory. Genghis Khan also ordered the wholesale massacre of many of the civilians in cities. He conquered and enslaved the rest of the population. He executed Khwarezm's governor by pouring molten silver into his ears and eyes. Eventually, the Shah fled rather than surrender, and he died shortly after, possibly killed by the Mongols. After their victory, Genghis Khan ordered 2 of his generals and their forces to completely destroy the remnants of the empire, including not only royal buildings, but entire towns, populations, and even vast swaths of farmland. In the city of Bukharia, Genghis Khan had the city's surviving population assemble in the town's mosque, where he declared that he was the flail of God sent to punish them for their sins. Oh. Yes, Abdullah, can you read from here? Abdullah, can you read? Abdullah, are you here? Hi, Khan Abdullah, are you here? Yes, Abdullah, can you read it? That has to be the thing. Can you mention from here?
The assault on the wealthy trading
Okay.
trading
Yes, read it.
city of Urgent prevented to the most difficult battle of the Mongol invasion. Mongolian casualties were higher than normal. They were not accommodated to fight the city as usual. Young women and children. As usual, young women and children were given to Mongol soldiers as slaves, and the rest of the population was massacred. Persian soldiers, Sokols, Javani states at 50,000 Mongol soldiers were given the task of escorting 24 urgent citizens each, which would mean that 1.2 million people were killed. The stacking of urgent is considered one of the bloodiest massacres in human history. During the invasion of Trantox in the 1219, along the main Mongol force. Genghis Khan used a Chinese specialist catapult. United in battle, they were used again in 1220 in Transylvania. The Chinese may have used the catapult and hurled gunpowder bombs. In fact, historians have suggested that the Mongol infestation had brought the Chinese gunpowder weapons to Central Asia. One of these was the Hongchong, a Chinese mortar.
Yeah, everything. It we just wear something funny. It is history. Like what is the okay, so can you continue?
By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the Mongol Empire ruled from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, an empire twice the size of the Roman Empire and Muslim Caliphate. Pushing further west, the Mongolian conquered the areas today known as Iran, Iraq, Syria, Caucasus, and parts of Turkey. Further Mongol raids reached southward as far as Gaza into the Palestine region in 1260 and 1300. The major battles were the siege of Baghdad in 1258, when the Mongols sacked the city that for 500 years had been the center of Islamic power, and the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260, when the Muslim Egyptians were for the first time able to stop the Mongol advance. And the Mongols were never able to expand further west in the Middle East due to a combination of political and environmental factors, such as lack of sufficient grazing room for their horses. Expansion of the Mongol Empire under Ogedi. Ogedi, Genghis Khan's third son, took over from his father and ruled the Mongol Empire from 1227 CE to 1241 CE. One of his most important contributions to the empire was his conquest of Eastern Europe. These conquests involved the invasions of Russia, Hungary, Volga, Bulgaria, and Poland. Over the course of 3 years, 1237 through 1240, the Mongols would annihilate all the major East Slavic cities, except for Novgorod and Psikov, 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 Psikov. As a result of the successful invasions, many of the conquered territories would become part of the Mongol Empire. The operations were masterminded by General Subutai and commanded by Batu Khan and Kadan, both grandsons of Genghis Khan. The Mongols had acquired Chinese gunpowder, which they deployed in battle during the invasion of Europe into great success in the forms of bombs hurled via catapults. The Mongols are in fact credited for introducing gunpowder and associated weapons into Europe. Ogedai Khan ordered his nephew and grandson of Genghis Khan, Batu Khan, Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan, Batu Khan to conquer Russia in 1235. The territory was then called Rus and encompassed modern-day Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, and the Baltic states. The main force arrived at Ryazan in December 1237. Ryazan refused to surrender, and the Mongols sacked it and then stormed through other Russian cities. Russian armies were defeated, and Grand Prince Yuri was killed in 1238. Major Russian cities such as Vladimir, Torzhok, and Kozylsk were captured. Afterward, the Mongols turned their attention to the steppe, crushing various tribes and sacking Crimea to the west. They returned to Russia in 1239 and sacked several more cities. Most Russian princes left. The Mongols sacked Kiev in 1240. The Mongols invaded Central Europe with the three armies. One army defeated the fragmented Poland at the Battle of Legnica in 1241. 2 days later, the armies regrouped and crushed the Hungarian army in the Battle of Mohi, killing half the Hungarian population in 1242. The Mongolians extended their control into Austria and Dalmatia and Moravia, where they found local resistance. They ruthlessly killed the population, where the local offered no resistance. They forced the men into servitude in the Mongol army. End of the Mongol advance. The Mongols had pushed into Hungary and were prepared to go into Western Europe. Hungarians who had survived the initial attack or never engaged in battle had begun a guerrilla attack led by survivors of the Hungarian royal family. The Mongols, even though still strong, were suffering defeats during these attacks. They never had a chance to regroup. Ogidi died in December 1241 after binge drinking during a hunting trip. Upon hearing the news, the Mongol forces halted their westward expansion and hastened back the thousands of miles to Karakorum, their capital in Mongolia, to elect his successor, sparing Western Europe from further violence. The popular ruler of the Mongol Empire from Ogeti's death in 1241 CE until 1246 CE, the Mongol Empire was ruled under the regency of the Ogeti's widow Torigin Khatun. She set the stage for the ascension of her son Guyuk as a great Khan, and he would take control in 1246. He and Ogedi's nephew, Batu Khan, both grandsons of Genghis Khan, fought bitterly for power. Guyuk died in 1248 on the way to confront Batu. Another nephew of Ogedi, and so a third grandson of Genghis Khan, the monk then took the throne in 1251 with Batu's approval in 1255, well into a monk's reign. Batu had repaired his relationship with the great Khan, and so finally felt secure enough again to prepare to return to invading westward into Europe. Fortunately for the Europeans, however, he died before his plans could be implemented. Monk forbade extravagant spending and limited gifts to the princes. He made merchants subject to taxes. He prohibited the demanding of goods and services from civilian populations by merchants, and he punished the unauthorized plundering of civilians by generals and princes, including his own son. In 1253, Monk established the Department of Monetary affairs to control the issuance of the paper money in order to eliminate the overissue of currency that had been a problem since Ogedi's reign. He standardized a system of measurement based on the silver ingot. Mangaka recognized that if he did not meet Gyok's financial obligations, it would make merchants reluctant to continue business with the Mongols. Like many other rulers around the world at this time, his hope was to take advantage of the budding commercial revolution in Europe and the Middle East, so he paid out all debts drawn by hiring Mongol elites to these merchants. Mm. Ata Malik Juvaini, a 13th century Persian historian, commented on the virtue of this move, saying, and from what book of history has it been read or heard that a king paid the debt of another king? The Mongols Empire the Mongol Empire's administration followed a trend that was occurring in the Western Europe where kings and emperors were finding efficient ways to manage their administrative and legal systems and fund crusades, conquests, and wars. From 1252 to 1259, Mangaka conducted a census of the Mongol Empire, including Iran, Afghanistan, Georgia, Armenia, Russia, Central Asia, and North China. The new census counted not only households but also the number of men aged 15 through 60 and the number of fields, livestock, vineyards, and orchards. Mongaka tried to create a fixed poll tax collected by imperial agents which could forward to the needy units. He taxed the wealthiest people most severely, but the census and taxation sparked popular riots and resistance in the western districts. These rebellions were ultimately put down, and Mangaka would continue to rule until his death in 1259. Mangaka's death in 1259 led to civil war between his two younger brothers, Kublai Khan and Arif Beg. The Kublai Khan emerged victoriously and established the Yuan dynasty in China in 1271. Perhaps the Mongols' greatest triumph, though it would eventually be overthrown in 1368 by the native Han Chinese, who would launch their own Ming dynasty. The Mongols under Kublai Khan Yuan dynasty invaded Sakhalian island between 1264 and 1308. They also invaded Burma in 1277, 1283, and 1287, resulting in Burma's capitulation and the disintegration of the pagan kingdom. The invasions of Vietnam and Java resulted in defeat for the Mongols, although much of South Asia agreed to pay tribute in order to avoid further bloodshed. In the south, after the fall of Jiangyang in 1273, the Mongols sought the final conquest of the Song dynasty in South China. In 1271, Kublai renamed the new Mongol regime in China as the Yuan dynasty, and he sought to strengthen his image as the Emperor of China in order to win the control of the millions of Chinese. Kublai moved his headquarters to Dadu, what later became the modern city of Beijing. His establishment of a capital there has a controversial move to many Mongols who accused him of being too closely tied to Chinese culture. The Mongols were eventually successful in their campaigns against China. The Chinese Song imperial family ultimately surrendered to the Yuan in 1276, making the Mongols the first non-Chinese people to conquer all of China. However, Kublai Khan's costly invasions of Burma, Annam, Sakhalin, and Champa secured only the vassal status of those countries, and Mongol invasions of Japan and Java failed. Hmm. No, Kublai Khan made significant reforms to existing institutions under the Yuan dynasty. He divided the dynasty's territory into a central region and peripheral regions that were under the control of various officials. He created an academy, offices, trade ports, and canals, and sponsored arts and science. Mongol records also list 20,166 public schools created during his reign. He also, along with engineers, invented the Muslim trebuchet, huipao, a counterweight-based weapon that was highly successful in battle. He also continued to welcome trade and travel through his empire. Marco Polo, his father, an Italian merchant, and his father's trade partner, traveled to China during this time, met Kublai Khan, and lived amongst his court. Polo generally praised the wealth and extravagance of Khan in the Mongol Empire. And the Mongol Empire. Mm, no, wait. As some historians also speculate that trade was so accessible between the empire and Europe that it may have contributed to the flow of disease, especially the Black Plague in the mid 1300s.
Okay, Haika, can you read from here? Haika, are you here?
Yes.
Can you read?
Okay. The development of the Mongol Empire into four khanates. By the time Kublai's death in 1294, the Mongol Empire had fractured into four separate empires that was based on zones. Councils had created the four empires known as khanates, each pursuing its own separate interest and objective. The Golden Horde Khanate in the northwest and the Chagatai Khanate in the west and the Khanate in the southwest, and the Gun dynasty based in modern-day Belgium. In 1304, the three West Khanates briefly accepted the rule of the Yuan dynasty in name, but when the dynasty was overthrown by Han Chinese Ming dynasty in 1368, the Mongol Empire finally dissolved.
Yeah, read.
No, it's done. The chapter's done.
The vocabulary. Can you learn vocabulary?
Genghis Khan, a Mongol leader who united the various Mongol tribes in the 13th century, made himself master of Mongolia and then set out on a path of conquest, eventually establishing the largest uninterrupted land empire of all of the world history. Kublai Khan, a Mongol ruler and grandson of Genghis Khan, who reunited northern and southern China and established the Mongolian Yuan dynasty over China. Ming Dynasty, a Chinese dynasty that overthrew the Yuan dynasty, Mongols in 1368 and ruled until 1644, a 300-year period marked by peace and prosperity. Notable accomplishments of this dynasty were geographic expansion into Korea, Burma, and Vietnam, the construction of the Forbidden City in Beijing, the explorations of Zhenghe, and the beginnings of early trade with Europeans along China's coastal ports. Mongol Empire, established in the 13th and 14th centuries by nomadic Asian tribes, the empire eventually grew to become the largest uninterrupted land empire in history, eventually establishing the Yuan dynasty in China, controlling Russia for 2 centuries, and assuming control over much of the Middle East. Apollo Marco, a European merchant from Venice who into the 1270 journeyed along the Silk Road and visited China. The descriptions he wrote of his travels would inspire great curiosity among Europeans about Chinese culture and wealth. Yuan Dynasty, a Mongol dynasty in China formally established by Kublai Khan in 1271 and in 1368. When the Ming dynasty would finally restore Chinese control, it was the only foreign dynasty to rule over all of China, with key help from Chinese officials. Zheng He, a Chinese explorer who, beginning in 1405, before Europeans began sailing beyond their borders, sailed to India and as far as Arabia and Eastern Africa in order to expand China's tribute system. His expeditions were notable for the sheer size of the fleets and the lengthy distances traveled. Wait. No. Fleets. Yeah, and the dream. No, I just wanted to do, I wanted to, wait. Is this Genghis? Yeah, and I think probably a self-portrait. Yeah, I wanted to look back over here because this is way too many countries.
No. Is he Genghis Khan? This one?
I don't know. Probably, maybe.
Genghis. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is
Genghis Khan.
as portrayed.
Wait, he's a Muslim. That's not Muslim. No, he has a piercing. There's no way he's a Muslim. He has a piercing. I mean,
So, do you know who were Mongols and who was Genghis Khan and everything?
yes.
You know, when Pakistan and India were not separate, they were united.
Civil
There,
War.
there were Mongols. Mughals has ruled India and Pakistan. Okay.
What?
Yeah, they have ruled
Mughals?
Mughals.
Really?
We ruled this land.
What did
Yeah,
that
our
happen?
ancestors. Our ancestors has ruled this land. It was the golden period of Islam. Okay, golden period of Islam.
Oh, the golden period of Islam. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Like around 1200.
Yeah,
Not 1200,
and what was
500.
1258? Yes, Baghdad. The major battles were sieged in Baghdad in 1258 when the Mongols sacked the city of for 500 years. It has been center of Islam power and the battle of uh, and Jalut, and Jalut in 1260 when the Muslims battled in. Okay. Egyptians were for the first time able to stop the Mongol advance.
Oh, 948.
Yeah. So
Oh, wait, I think I saw questions. No, I'm not.
yeah. Question. How did the rise and fall of the Mongol Empire change the history of Russia, China, and Islamic Empire?
I'm not gonna summarize everything.
Okay, Haika, can you answer this question?
Which one?
How did the rise and fall of Mongols Empire change the history of Russia, China, and Islamic Empire?
Oh my god. There was a bloodbath in somewhere in the Islamic region, I think. There was a And there was no, it was one of the cruelest, absolute, most insane things in human history that happened to the Islamic Empire. But I also remember it saying that like history of Russia, China, and Islamic Empire. Like the Christians, the Buddhists, and the Muslims would be able to live together in peace under the in somewhere in the Roman Empire. But that was near the beginning of the lesson. And then I don't know what happened to when his sons came. Then they just did absolutely cruel. I don't know. Uh,
Yes, Haika, can you answer? The rise and fall of Mongols.
From what I understood, the Genghis Khan was amazing, was like a good ruler, like by good standards. Like he was freeing to his people. He didn't
He was cruel.
Genghis. Genghis. Okay.
Genghis.
Genghis. Mama. His sons were the cool ones. You didn't know that they're pretty sure it was the sons that were the cool ones because when I saw the Genghis, his accomplishments and what rules he made, those were fair, those were reasonable, and he also made sure that Islamic and the Islamic Chinese, the Islamic Buddhists and Christians will all live under one like empire in peace. And so that's good, but I think I remember his sons are the ones that like invaded and absolutely bloodbathed an entire Islamic, like one Islamic place.
Okay, what were
Populous,
some of the
enslaving women
military
and children and killing the
advantages
men.
of the Mongols? What were some military advantages of the Mongols?
The abs like a huge amount of like people, no?
The many countries were conquered by Mongols. It was the military advantages. Okay. How did the Mongol Empire facilitated the diffusion of products, ideas, and the diseases?
Oh yeah, this was the last guy. I forgot his name, but like basically the in the Yuan dynasty made a good amount of trade associations with Europe, and so it was so huge that a lot of disease and ideas and products all were transferred everywhere, especially during the Black Plague. There was a lot of disease.
Why are the Mongols the last nomadic society to overrun
Overrun Eurasia.
overrun Eurasia cultural centers?
I don't know. I don't
After
know.
that, Muslims could not be united. Muslims did not unite after that. Muslims were in parts.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because Muslims are never united on one goal or target.
Why? What? Why are you? Huh?
Okay.
What I miss?
Okay. Thank you. Jazakallahu khairan. This was your lesson for today. Inshallah, we will see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.